Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Game On here on SABC 1. I am Cesar Mabena, proud to be in your company at an exciting time with what's going on in Cote d'Ivoire at the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations, as well as in England, in as far as the Premier League, and as far as who joins me today, got the regular legends. The way of Christophe Bong. Later on in the show, he'll join us in the third segment to talk all things AFCON. And of course, we welcome back Jairus Kosana, who will talk to us about South Africa and how they've done to get into the quarterfinals. But we start off with yet another legend. That, of course, is Shane McGregor. Shane, let's break down what's been going on out in England. The winter break, a thing of the past. We're back to the full fixture list now.
Full fixture list, including FA Cup games. So
Yep.
there's a lot of football been going on.
Sure.
So thank goodness they had a little bit of a rest. But, it's back to normal for the players, back to playing. I used to love it, playing as often as possible because then it's less training.
Yeah, well, the fans are loving it. And I'll tell you what, for Arsenal, their fans would have loved what happened on Tuesday, of course, with the all-important 2-1 win over Nottingham Forest, keeping them in the running and keeping them within range, of course, of Liverpool.
That was the big thing there, was just getting the result. Forest have been going well, so that's a good result, especially for Arsenal. Keeping them in their top three, 5 points behind Liverpool, same amount of games, so we'll see what happens on the weekend. The
one game you and I spoke about at length last week and that we were both looking forward to was Aston Villa up against Newcastle. Aston Villa at home, Newcastle going through their difficulties over the last few months. Aston Villa's thereabouts with the teams in the chasing pack. Was it
they're always going to be there and thereabouts. They haven't spent money in this window, which I'm quite surprised at, but I think they're looking at the future, and they're going to be one of those teams. Once all those players are back, they'll be backfiring, which they're doing now.
Yeah. Now, Liverpool-Chelsea, everybody's talking about it, lots of phone calls happening, people bragging, depending on which side of the fence they stood. But a thumping 4-1 win for Liverpool, again, they're just looking the business right now. Good run of wins as well they've stacked up.
Yeah, a very good run of points, and if you look at it, in their last 6 games, these two teams drew. So people will look at it and say it is a bit of a result. For me, it was brilliant, I just feel that there's something definitely wrong in Chelsea. They got all the big name players, a very good manager, but they just don't seem to be putting it together. Liverpool, on the other hand, without Salah, without a few players, are still doing the job, still getting results, and that's a worry for those the other teams. They are getting results. We got a record, by the way. Game midweek. I mean, our striker, first time in Premier League history to hit the woodwork 4 times in one game and not scoring. So, it's one of those things. Can you imagine if he had scored this?
I'm telling you, he's going to be one of the best in the world in the years to come. But I have to also mention the response from Liverpool following the big announcement that caught us all by surprise. We can't not talk about that. Jurgen Klopp, of course, gives the news that he will be walking away from Liverpool at the end of the season. And what a response against Chelsea.
Well, that's the players, that's exactly they want to do it for him. That club at the moment is one big family, and Klopp, I can understand where he comes from. If you look at the amount of pressure he's under, he does interviews every single day. He gets basically 1 day off a week when they play once a week, and it's hectic for a coach. That pressure does catch up to you. And you can see he looks tired. I particularly looked at him during the game midweek, and he looks very tired. He looks drained. So I think it's the players will try and win the league for him to give him a swung son. And, they'll put their best foot forward for the rest of the season, just trying to get something for him.
Now, let's move on. Look at the games that will be happening today. Of course, Everton have had their problems financially. We know they had the 10-point start earlier on in the season. They're up against the Tottenham side that had a good result earlier on in the week.
This has got draw written all over it.
Really?
If you look at the history, head-to-heads, I think there have been 4 draws over their last 6 games.
Sure.
So I think this has got draw written all over it. Everton have got too much to lose. Spurs on firing. They do miss Son, a huge amount there. I think the draw.
Now, we spoke about Newcastle, great result at Aston Villa, at home, Luton Town. Now, after the struggles over the last 2-3 months, they need to, again, start racking up the wins here and get a bit of a good run going.
Yeah, even though Luton Town are playing well, I think Newcastle will be too strong for them in this game, so it'll be a banker for me in everything.
Now, with Aston Villa's struggles of late, they're away to Sheffield United. Great time to bounce back if they can? Or do you see Sheffield United being a bit of a pothole in the road for them here?
Oh, well, Sheffield United will be saying this is a great time to be playing Aston Villa, so you've got to look at it both ways. But for me, I think Villa will bounce back in this one and get the victory.
Now, many Manchester United fans weren't happy with the FA Cup win, 4-2, but still not convincing, according to many of the fans' opinions here. They're up against a side that over the years, it's always been a nice game, this. Manchester United, West Ham. West Ham at times have come up with the upset against Manchester United. How do you see this very? I'm seeing a very good game here, possibly for West Ham going into Old Trafford thinking they can win.
They probably will think that they can win, but I think it draws again written all over the card. You know, Man United are welcoming back a whole host of stars.
Nana included?
A whole host of stars. So,
sure.
They near their strongest team. I just feel the draw will be on the cards.
Biggest game of the week. Can't ignore it. Arsenal at home to Liverpool, both in the running. Arsenal want to pull Liverpool a little bit closer. Liverpool will know a win for them, pulls them a little bit further away from Arsenal. This is a huge game.
Must win for Arsenal. Must win for Arsenal. If they want to keep their run game and trying to compete for the top, a must win for them. Liverpool, I think, will be happy with the draw coming out of this game. But I do think that Liverpool will get the job done again against Arsenal. My one worry is the team Klopp picks. That's going to be the big thing. I hope Trent Alexander doesn't play at the back.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's the manager. He knows better. This is going to be a big deciding game for Arsenal. If they get beaten, they're out of the race. Simple than that.
Of course, we can't ignore Manchester City.
Big game.
They're away against Brentford. That's another huge one.
Big game. And I'll tell you why. Brentford are their bogey team.
Yeah.
If you ever look at the upset results against Man City, Brentford have got the results. In actual fact, I think they beat them the last time they played at home. Big game here. I think that this could be the Man City coming unstuck in this game. So I'll be worried and very careful of Brentford.
Well, so plenty to look forward to then. So will City be able to get over the hurdle that is Brentford that stands ahead of them? Will Arsenal be able to slow down Liverpool so the likes of Arsenal and City can start to catch up, including Aston Villa as well? We'll find out during the course of the next few days. Game On takes a short break. We come back and get into Team South Africa, Bafana, out at Cote d'Ivoire with Jerry Skosana talking about their win over Morocco and what lies ahead in the battles against Cape Verde and possibly more going forward.
Game on. Here we go. Check these guys. Let's show them how it's done. I see it. Let's have a
your feet like this.
Let's see how you play.
Move your feet like this.
Welcome back to Game On as we shift focus now and look at what's been happening as far as Bafana goes out in Cote d'Ivoire at the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations. And joining me, of course, I've got the legend that is Jerry Skosana. Jerry, great time to be a South African football fan right now. Up against the Morocco team where abaningi bebathukile. Morocco World Cup, they did so well at the World Cup in Qatar. Here they are against South Africa, who's beaten them again not too long ago. But shock result, or was it not a shock for you?
Well, thanks, Sizwe. Back again.
Yeah, welcome back.
Football. Yeah. Really, it's just so great because you look at the team that we beat in the last 16, which is the #1 team in Africa. So that motivates and it gives a lot of shaking to the other teams to say, hey, this South Africa isn't a problem.
Yeah.
So I think that was something good. But Umubugama results, I think the boys were hyped up because the last 2 games we played against in Morocco, we normally beat them. We beat them 2-0 and then we beat them 2-1. So I think that's the mentality, Labafana Bebanayo, the approach, Abayimuksegu Morocco, and it did work well.
Let's talk about Hugo Broos, the planning yak, going into this game. Tactically, how did you feel his approach was?
Mamela, that was the best. But I think for me, Uma Ubuga in national team, you look at the last 6 guys, that's where you normally get the strongest of team yako. You look at Ronwen Williams, you look at Mudau, you look at Mudiba, you look at Mvala, you look at Kekana. In front of them is Mokwena.
Yeah.
All these 6 players, they play for one team.
Yeah.
And if you look at the way Sejalanga Kona Lapemova build up, the confidence, how we play, I mean, for me now, Hugo Broos might have problems with Rulani Mokoena, as he mentioned before, but what he's got there is like he on a team, in terms of the build-up, the marking, and he advantage in this AFCON.
So, big game coming up later on today. South Africa up against Cape Verde. Cape Verde, hey, they've been problematic. Last 2 games we played against them in World Cup qualifiers for 2018, Basaya 2 home and away. They've looked good in this tournament. Let's talk Cape Verde. Tournament.
Remember what before, I think it's more than 5 years ago when they started saying Cape Verde. I thought maybe with Cape Town. Cape
Island.
But island. But no, hey, we had good results against them, but the last 4 games, I think there was 1 draw, and then we lost 2 games, 1 at home, 1 away. So we need to be cautious. It's having the confidence of beating Morocco to qualify for the quarterfinal tonight. If Labafana Bangabana same mentality, same approach, and Benze show with whatever that they do it as a unit. I mean, this is what we saw against Morocco. So tonight we want to see more because this is a motivation to say these guys gave us problems in the last 2 games. How are we going to go there? And remember, there is 2 players that I'm worried about from Cape Verde.
Yeah.
Their captain, Ryan Mendes, who's so legit, he's like a good striker. Yeah. Also, Bebe, I saw 1 free kick that he took, so we need to be cautious on that because if Ukombola, we consider it a goal with the free kick against Mali. Yeah. That's why they scored the first goal. But now, isn't it maybe it's long sale. So we need to know how to approach the game late.
I'm glad you mentioned the Mali game. Basaya 2. Since that game, we haven't conceded. Maybe against Namibia, there was a few defensive worries, but again, clean sheet. And it's been a clean sheet ever since. The problems we may have had at the back is Lungile, and is that our strongest department? Back 6. Is that our strongest department? Do we build from the back going forward?
Yeah. Look at this back 6 now that I spoke about. They all play for one team, all of them. But when we considered 2 goals in our first game, Kekana was missing, it was Sianda Kulu. And there were 2 mistakes that happened on his side, we considered. But to the next game, they roped in Ukekana and everything was stable. We had how many games now? 3 games. Without considering. So it was a good thing.
So, Tebo Mokoena, have to talk about him in midfield. Yes, many will talk about Zwane and Siazu Zwane, but maybe many don't talk enough about Tebo Mokoena. With this tournament, is he also one of our strongest and most important players in this team?
You know what? You underrate Tebo Mokoena and then you don't know what you're talking about because I've never seen a player that is so passionate. He's all over the field. You'll find him in defense, you'll find him in creativity. Look at our second goal there where he's got a free kick. It was him breaking. Where were the strikers? Where were the attacking players? So that's where you find and give him credit to say the boy is a workaholic. He's a quality player.
Some might criticize early on in the tournament, but he's backed him, Hugo Broos. How do you rate your evidence and his performances in the tournament?
Well, evidence, I think, this thing, you stage. The body structure, but honestly speaking, in terms of being clever, of the ball movement, creating spaces, I'm still a little bit worried about it because that's the area where I used to play at, and I know what expectations are needed at all. But little bit of that, if maybe can improve in terms of creativity, of the ball running, and don't play with your back behind the goalpost, because that's where you falter a bit. But let's give him a credit because he scored a beautiful goal against Morocco. So tonight, I think the confidence is a corner.
Yeah, now, big stage. We get through this game, if we get through this game, as South Africa, semi-finals, is it possible, is the big question. Do you see the possibility?
I'm overconfident. Honestly, if the attitude of the players is the same that they brought against Morocco, I don't see us going out of this AFCON in the quarterfinal. We're going to proceed and play in the semi-final. This is my wish tonight.
Well, that's Jerry Skosana's wish tonight, to see South Africa, of course, get the better of Cape Verde, I mean to say, and move on to a semi-final berth. Can they do it? That is the big question. I'm sure all of South Africa will be watching here and fully behind the boys in the hope that they make it through to the semi-final. Stay with Game On. Christopher Bongo comes on, and we continue to break down the AFCON. Welcome back to Game On, and I'll tell you what, there's a debate that's been had now over the last few weeks all across the continent, with many questioning whether this is the best AFCON of all time or not. Some are like saying no, because maybe there's not as many great players as other AFCONs, but many are of the opinion yes, because there's so many surprises, so many goals, and the quality of the games has been extremely high, including the entire package as a whole. So joining me to speak all things AFCON is Christopher Bongo, son of the soil, of course, brother here at Game On. Chris, top 5 African nations out of the competition in as early as the last 16. What does that tell you about this competition?
This is a great competition. Let's start. Forget about your ranking. For you to get at AFCON, you need to qualify.
Yes, sir.
So you go through a round of qualifiers and then you make it to the final round. So for you to be in Côte d'Ivoire, you did do your part and you qualified. After you qualified, you have to come to the tournament with a tournament management. It's not a game management, it is tournament management. So it's not about the best players. It's not about the top players. It is how those players can come together to graft a result for them to continue going. So far, we had 8 teams that managed to do that. So they are not there because of their rankings. They are there because they did manage the tournament correctly and managed the knockout phase games correctly.
Now, we've already spoken South Africa, Cape Verde with Jerry Skosana a little bit earlier. We have to talk about the hosts. Up against the Mali side that had a great start against Bafana Bafana, maybe weren't so great in seeing out the rest of their group matches, but bounced back in the knockout stages. We all know about Côte d'Ivoire, their struggles in the tournament, firing a coach when they thought they were out, got them back in the tournament. How do you see this game?
A very tough game. Last weekend when we spoke about this tournament, I told you about top teams playing unit, top team playing as individual.
Yes.
What Côte d'Ivoire managed to do is to move from the ranks of having top players and they're playing as a team. And because they play as a team, they showed everybody in the continent how good they can be, because they were totally devastating when they went to their first knockout phase game. It was amazing the way they played. If they continue the same way, Côte d'Ivoire, they'll see themselves in the semi-final.
Well, have to also look at the stats here. They're quite interesting. 4 wins for Côte d'Ivoire, 1 draw. So Mali has never beaten Côte d'Ivoire, which is quite an interesting stat.
And they're playing at home.
And they're playing at home, Côte d'Ivoire.
And as we've seen of the AFCON, you're talking about how great this competition has been compared to others. Just look at the stand. Almost every single game is in the capacity of over 25,000. Every single game.
We're averaging 19,000. Last I checked. I haven't checked the last 2 games or so. But 19,000 on average.
And the venue is 30,000. So if you have 19,000, the venue you see how much you are getting in the field, and the atmosphere and the dancing and the laughing. It's always great when you have the host nation continuing going.
How important was it for Côte d'Ivoire to still be in this tournament and also get through Senegal in the way they did? How important was that?
Number one, it was important for you and I, for the competition to still have the same level in the media, in the atmosphere, in everything. So it was very important when the host nation continued playing. For Côte d'Ivoire themselves, they had to be able to look back to say what we did wrong, so that we can change to do well. And if you look at the way the coach put the spine of the team, where Aurier was playing, where he puts Casey was playing, where he put Gradel was playing. So suddenly you have the spine of the team. From defense, you have an experience, midfield experience, upfront experience, and everybody was distributing the ball, and that's why they managed to get those goals against what I think is almost overzealous Senegal. They came in the tournament, nothing happened to them, winning all the games, scoring goals. Scoring the first goal against Cote d'Ivoire, they thought the game was
almost
done.
looked too easy.
Very easy. Actually, the tournament was too easy for them.
Well, let's have a look at the Africa Cup of Nations now. I must just get your thoughts on one thing. So, for those of you that don't know, Hollywoodbets, who of course do cover the Hollywoodbets League here in the women's football here in South Africa, have done something special. Taken forth the best players from the league, and they are taking them on a trip through to Spain to spend some time out at Villarreal and gauge themselves against some of the best players in Europe in a great footballing nation such as Spain. Your thoughts on that initiative by Hollywoodbets and how they just keep giving back to the beautifully South African game?
I think what Hollywoodbets has understood is there is no better form in life for education than traveling. When you travel, you learn so much. You learn from the sound, you learn from the sights, you learn from the experience. So those players getting there, they will see things to be different. The food, the ears, the language, all those stuff build an individual. So this can only be good for South African football going forward with Banyana.
Certainly will be. So let's find out more about that as we learn about the departure out at the OR Tambo Airport.
We are sending 4 wonderful ladies from the Hollywoodbets Super League to Spain to train with Villarreal. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them to showcase their skills and their talents against the world's best female footballers.
I get to express because this is a great opportunity. We're going to gain a lot of experience.
To be honest, it makes me feel excited and wonderful about it. Also, for the people from Hollywoodbets, I want to thank them for giving me this opportunity.
I'm very excited about the experience, you see. It's a great opportunity for us to explore and learn new things from the other country, because basically what we have this side is not upgraded than what they have. So it's a great opportunity for us.
This is a great opportunity for us, for our brand to be exposed on an international scale. But more than that, it's just keeping with the endeavor of Hollywoodbets to grow football in all ranks in South Africa. Most importantly, to grow the women's game. So what we are currently doing now is taking some of our best players to see whether their level matches up with the best players in Europe. These are the ladies going to Spain.
Some of my expectations have been met because as I was watching Spanish national team, I saw that those players are very quick and physical. So when I get here, I got to experience that. They are physical and they are very quick, and they're very technical good.
Oh, I thought it's going to be fun and we're going to have a great time, and also having a training session with the team. And my expectations, as I was expecting it to be, it just went, it went well. We enjoyed our training sessions, and I think the team is wonderful.
For my department, it was nice, but on the first day, it was a bit difficult for me, you know. So, but second training, third training, it got better, and I enjoyed every moment with it. So they were also trying to explain, give me advices how to work, how to do things, you know, because it differs from where I come from. So with every moment shared, it was spectacular. So I got to learn a lot of things.
I expect that a higher tempo, and the players, they play very well, and they play like 1-2s. Like in South Africa, we were more dribbler. So here they play more forward play. So I was expecting that, because in the World Cup I watch Spain national team play. So the way they play, the way they do things in the field of play. So I was expecting that. So I saw that even here when I train with the team, they more play forward play.
Once again, time flies when you're having fun. So we'd like to thank Bob Christopher Pongo for his thoughts on the Africa Cup of Nations, not forgetting Jerry Skosana and Shane McGregor as well. We'd like to thank you at home for taking the time to join us here on Game On. Until next week, from us and the rest of the crew that is behind the scenes, it's click, click, bang.